I'm gonna go ahead and take this air cleaner off because I tried to hook a battery up to it just to, got a nice little sparky spark when I hit the what's now the start switch, but soon not to be. I'm gonna go back to this guy. I've got a new one. If that, I can do some testing on, see if it grounds out. When you push in on that, it should ground. You should get continuity basically when you push in on this to ground basically, and that's what starts there's a wire runs from this to the solenoid. But right now that wire runs to this switch, which is oddly not connected to a ground. So I'm not sure how that's working. Maybe it's done at the solenoid, but I don't know. I'm not really into trying to figure it out. So since I already have a wiring harness, I may set up the tripod and let you see me rip all this out and put a new one in. All right, I got two choices here. I think this one is the 12 volt and this is a 6 volt harness. I'm gonna look up these part numbers to make sure, but I'm pretty sure this is the 6 volt one. So this probably would work. I think this is the one I bought to originally put on my dad's, and then this is the one I bought because the 641 that I had was actually still 6 volt, but I was able to salvage that wiring harness. There was really nothing wrong with it other than I think the switch, I think, was the only thing that I had to end up replacing. Oh, and then the amp, I had to replace the voltmeter, amp meter. I think it was amp meter. I can't remember what it was, but we'll I'm gonna do a little quick check on these two, and I'll be back with you in a little bit. Because this is a rat's nest. I mean, this is basically, looks like this is 12 volt. Feeds the switch, goes to the voltmeter. Yeah, voltmeter, and that did show 12 volts when I plugged the battery up. So all these, this is all 12 volts, and then this is the wire going back to the switch, back to the solenoid, I would presume. These connections down here are very brittle and loose, so I think I do have another solenoid too. I may just throw that on there just to avoid that as being an issue as well, and we'll be good to go. I may leave the voltmeter and, oh, that's the oil pressure and temp gauge. I may leave the, I don't know, it shouldn't be a big deal to leave the amp meter, I mean the voltmeter in the circuit. I'll just make sure, because it did seem like it was working, so, and we'll go from there. I took and opened them both up, and it appears that this is the one you want for probably the 600s, anything NAA and up to at least 80, whatever, 800 series. You know, the wire length on the, at least the one going wrap, this white wire goes around to the coil and distributor stuff on that side. And this is the alternator cable, and then this is where it hooks to the solenoid, and then this goes up to your dash and hooks into the various components there. So I think this is the one to go with. I think I actually got this from Rachel Jindal on that farmtractorrepair.com, I think it was. I think that other one came off of eBay. I may get that one to work, but I'm thinking the lead that goes around to the alternator is going to have to be extended, because that's not a whole lot of, you know, this is supposed to go to the alternator, and this is supposed to wrap around the front of the tractor and go to the coil. It may work, but I don't think so. I don't know if I can pull some of the slack out here, but I don't know. We'll see. What I'll probably end up doing is taking this one apart and customizing it for my dad's tractor, or vice versa. I'm going to disconnect these wires. I'm not going to actually film the disconnection, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just I'm going to take this voltmeter out that's currently in here. I've got an amp meter that goes in there. I'm not sure which one is meant to be in here, but that's what I bought to put in the 600, I think it was. And I didn't, the 641 that is. And I didn't use it, but I'm going to take all this out, get rid of this switch here. I'll show testing this neutral safety switch, And I don't have a solenoid, but I'm going to take that out and clean it up, remove all the wires. And it's really just disconnecting a few wires that go up to the dash. And I've got a new key switch that I'll put in here. And then I've also got the little junction. I'll show it to you when I pull it out. I'm going to find it here. I laid it somewhere. I'll get that installed. It's a terminal block, that's what it is. And that's where everything's wired to. There's a hot side and a keyed side. So basically the ignition switch goes to both sides, and then when you turn the key on, it fires up the coil and the I guess if you had lights or something, it would go to feed to your lights. And then there's wires that go down to your start solenoid, and then there's one wire that goes to the alternator, and one that wraps around to the coil. And I went through and labeled, took a couple wiring diagrams to get there, but it went through and labeled each wire with a piece of tape just to make it easier to install. I'm gonna have to change the end on this and put like a ring terminal or something on this one, because this is meant for this wiring harness, I guess, is set up to use a resistor. This wire would, if you had a resistor, it would go to the resistor. Instead, it goes to the terminal block. I believe that's the way that works. And I'll go through it in a little bit more detail when I get this in place and hooked up. All right, be back in a sec. All right, all the wires are removed except for of course, the battery cables. I'm leave the starter here. I think the start solenoid. I'm just gonna leave it here. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit here in a second. Still got the battery cables on there loosely. Went ahead and put the terminal block in, and basically this new switch with a key in place, and then one wire to each side. All right, and then I'll start hooking this, laying this harness out. I'll start at the alternator and get that connection and run the wire around to the coil. It's currently got a resistor on it over there, so I've got a 12-volt coil. I'm just gonna probably convert it to internally resisted coil. I'm just gonna switch to that because I know it's a known good coil instead of trying to troubleshoot that. I just want to see if this thing will start, turn over before I put too much effort into it, because I want to do a compression check on the cylinders. But when I attempted to start it the other day, all I got was sparky spark when I tried to start it. So I don't know if something was shorted out in the wiring, but there it is. Use harness, free to a good home. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this harness laid out. And there's actually a couple clips. There's one here, and then there's one here. So I'll get it fed in behind this linkage here. I think that's the throttle return spring or something, or I believe. But I'll get it fed in behind here to come up through here to hook to the solenoid, and then up to the dash. And I'll show you a picture of it once I get that in there. And I've got basically all the wires placed except for the coil wire that I'll run over there in a second. But so alternator through here, and you pick up the wire that goes to the battery side, basically the hot that feeds to your amp gauge. So and then the one thing I am disappointed about this is, which is not a big deal, it's just when they tape this wire up, it's just electrical tape. They didn't give me enough slack to get to the post where I want to. There's plenty of slack in the cable. It's the start switch cable, so there's plenty of length there. It's just I'm gonna undo this tape here once I'm gonna pull it. I may not be able to pull it to get it. I'm gonna have to untape it to get enough length there to go to where I need it, which is not a big deal, because I'm gonna do a little bit better wire management here for this. So, all right, back to it. So, you got the alternator cable that comes up, that goes all the way up to the amp gauge. Then there's the other red wire that comes back down to your battery. That's basically your charging circuit. And then there's a jumper that comes off of your, let's see, Yeah, so on your positive side, from your gauge goes to your terminal block, and then that's where you feed everything off of here. You basically give the 12 volts to your solenoid, and then there's the other cable that I've got to connect, which will actually is this white wire down here, which will feed around to the coil. I'll throw a link up to a wiring diagram I have that I found. There's a couple on the internet. Depending on your setup, whether you're 6 volt, 12 volt, whether you've got a resistor or you've got internal resistor coil, so it makes it a little bit different. You know, this doesn't have a voltage regulator on it because it doesn't have a generator on it. Eventually, we'll get to that point where we'll run a couple extra wires to the voltage regulator, because I'm going to put a generator, 12 volt generator on this, I think. And then, let's see. And then I'll hook this up. We'll test that start switch here in a second. And there's the new gauge installed. And that's pretty much it. I've got to change the end on this so that it'll go on this to the switch side of the terminal block. So basically, you can see this yellow and black wire here that goes to the ignition switch. So when that's on, that actually connects those two together. So that's basically the hot cable that's connected here will basically go through the switch and power your start relay and your coil, basically. But that's it, pretty much. Pretty simple. And then you'll see on some tractors where they have a 3-post. It's really not that complicated. At first I thought it was some major thing, but really this is basically it's a relay basically, and you have to have negative and positive DC voltage activated on this to actually connect these two together. So when you have a 4-post, you have to have a negative and positive wire. When it's only a 4-post, that is, and then a 3-post, the case itself is actually the ground, so it always has ground to it. So then you're just basically supplying positive voltage to it, and it really depends on whether you're negative ground or positive ground. This tractor is positive ground, so it would be flipped. If on a 3-post, you'd either be providing ground or you'd be providing voltage, depending on whether your tractor is positive ground or negative ground. I know it sounds like French for some, but it's not too big a deal. All right, let's test this. All right, I just took a couple zip tied to each end of where the tape was, and then got a really sharp razor blade knife and scored that tape, not going through it completely, and then it basically just snaps apart when you peel it off, and it opens it up completely. Now I should be able to slide this wire through the 2 zip ties to get the amount of slack that I need to connect to these two, and I'll probably adjust the orange one as well to get this to where it lays properly. And I think this is the hook for the wiring harness here, I believe. Seems logical. I can't think of any other wires that would go in there, but it might take a little effort to get it in there. I'll bend it out a little bit to get it in there, but then I'll crimp a new. The wiring harness actually comes with a new. Well, it was. Oh, here it is. It's on the bag. This is the wiring harness bag. Actually, that's the part number for that. Of course, made in China. Of course, that's the wire for over here, the distributor. That's the new end that I can put on that thing. Put on the end of this wire that goes to the terminal block. And this is the ignition switch part number. And I also have, this is the amp meter. So there you go. That's all the parts on it I have at this point. I'm going to go ahead and get these slack pulled out a little bit, and I may just leave it with the wire ties for now until I get situated to where I know where the wire is going to go. Before I've got some of that plastic wiring harness wrap. That's probably not, doesn't look original with that, but I don't know. I'll probably put the tape back on it. and go from there. And I'll pull all this blue tape off once I know everything is where it's supposed to be. All right, let's test this. I know you keep missing all the good stuff, but you know, this was on there, this cap. Do yourself a favor and get you a heat gun when you're trying to remove that, if you're trying to save it. This is a Harbor Freight special here. But and just pried it off with a screwdriver. It's a little deformed now because of the heat, but hopefully I can get that to relax if I heat it up. If not, I've got a new one, but of course it doesn't. It's probably nowhere near the quality of this one. The other one on the 640 was all split up, but this one seems to be intact. But other than being a little deformed now, but we might be able to melt that back into shape, but who knows? All right, let me get this removed. Actually, we'll go ahead and get set up and test this. So when you push, you have to be in neutral. So I can actually push it down. I think that's full down. Now if I put it in gear, see, I can't go down. So that part of it works. I'm not sure why I can actually shift that without pushing the clutch in. Hopefully the clutch is not stuck on this thing, but I guess we'll find out. All right, let me unbolt this and actually, let me get the meter set up. All right, I've got one of the leads wedged in where the ground battery cable is. So that's probably the best ground in the system right now. I was tried a couple other places on the case and it doesn't seem to work with the paint, so you have to find a bare place. So, all right, so I'll put this on here. Get it on there so I can push the button at the same time. All right. Well, you heard it for a little bit. Let's try it a different way here. Put that there. Now push it down. Continuity. All right, so let's put it in gear. Now I shouldn't get anything. I can't even go push it down. So, all right, so that safety switch is working. So we're gonna hook it up to this and put a battery in it and see what we get. All right, be back in a sec. Oh, we got to get ready to put the battery in it. Then, oh yeah, that's right. Got to do this side now. So what we got to do here is take this resistor out of the circuit. I'm gonna put a new coil, a new 12-volt coil, because I'm not sure what kind of coil this is. It could be still the 6-volt with the resistor. I don't know. But so we'll run this to the positive side of the coil, and then we'll have a negative from the coil to the distributor, and that's all the wiring we'll have. And we'll basically remove this resistor out of the equation. But let me go find the coil and get that installed. Second thought, I don't really need the coil for what I'm just actually going to turn it over, and best thing is going to check the compression in each one of the cylinders. So actually I don't want it starting, so I really don't need to replace that yet. So I'm just going to leave that for now. I will secure this wire so it doesn't ground out to something, but we'll stick that in there somewhere. And we'll figure something out. Tape it up. Yeah, we'll do that there for now until I knock it loose and do something with that. But all right, let's put the battery. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Neutral, I believe. Well, I thought it was. Well, maybe I do have to push the clutch. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to learn how to use this shifter. But it was working earlier. Well, I guess we'll find out when it doesn't start. All right, well, key on. Nothing. And yeah, it's not in neutral. I can feel it. All right, turn that back off. Hang on, let me get it in neutral. Neutral is up, in the up position. There's 3 on this shifter. It's different from the 641s and the 640 that I had, because it was a regular shifter and it had like 5 positions. This has got, you know, a low, middle, and a high, and neutral is, I think, right there at the top. But I guess we'll find out here in a second. Hold on. Key, and nope, that's not it either. Hold on, let's see. Maybe it's in the middle. There we go, that's the middle right there. I'm gonna put the clutch down. That ain't it either. Maybe it's all the way down. Nope. Guess I need to watch a video on this thing. There we go, that's neutral. Yeah, but I'm not getting anything. All right, I guess it's time to do some troubleshooting. My guess is it's going to be that start solenoid. Would be my guess, but alrighty. Well, we'll see what we get. All right, this is not supposed to happen, I don't believe. If you go from the starter side to, I got it on continuity right now, and I got not a whole lot of slack here. Oh, let me go back through, pull these leads up through here. All right, there we go. So I've got the battery disconnected and the key is off, so this wiring shouldn't matter. I shouldn't get continuity. Oh, you can't. I'll raise the camera up so you can see it. Again, raise it up. I don't think I'm supposed to get continuity there. I don't believe that's the way that works. I need to see if I can find another 4-post relay and see if I can test that. But I'm pretty sure that these should not have any continuity to those 2 posts regardless. So I think I need another one of those. Alrighty, well, let me go source one of those and I'll be back at you. I got my little start solenoid from Amazon. I don't know why they label it as a 12 volt. I mean, I don't think there's a difference between 12 volt, 6 volt solenoid's a solenoid. Maybe it's, 6 volt would have bigger post or something. Yeah, I don't know because of the amp draw. But all right, I've kind of rigged it up. I've got the battery negative connected just to make it easier for me. I don't have the battery connected to the circuit yet, so it won't try and start. But I just wanted to let you hear what a good solenoid should sound like. So basically, I have, really the only thing that matters right now is these 2 posts here. I have the negative, which is the one that I have earmarked to go to the start switch here, and then the positive, which is actually feeds up to this orange wire up to the terminal block that gets activated when you turn the switch on. But for demonstration purposes, I've just basically doing jumpers from the ground terminal, which I had the ground terminal on. I'm not sure I need to have the ground terminal on, but I don't know why I did that. But anyway, so when I put this on here, you should hear a click. Well, should hear a click. My guess is it's not making contact over there. Yeah, that's why I put it. That's why I put the battery, so I'd have somewhere to actually hook the lead to. That's why I put it on there. Hang on, let me see what happens. Okay, you can't connect I had it on the rusty part of the bolt here. I guess I wasn't getting really, or the bolt that goes through here, I guess I wasn't making good ground contact, so I just clamped it onto the side of the post here just to get me a good connection there. And I've disconnected the wires just to prove that there's nothing else going on here. So I've got one lead hooked to it, and it doesn't matter which one is which. So when you'll hear a click when I hit the, that's a good working one. So let me get the old one, show it's not. We got the old ones set up here. Now we shouldn't hear a click now when I hit put this cable on the battery. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. So solenoid's definitely bad. All right, let's get this wired back up and see if she'll turn over. Just before I actually try and turn this thing over, I got I'm gonna clean up all this crap before I start turning over the engine, because I want to change gears to, if I can get it turning over, I'm going to start checking the compression in the cylinders just to get an idea of that and see what I'm going to be dealing with there. But I've got this rigged up now. I've got basically everything wired up, except for the battery, the hot on the battery cable. I think that should work. I just want to see if I get continuity between the two posts on the start solenoid. So basically, the battery comes down through the solenoid, and the only time the starter's active, of course, is when 12 volt is applied to these two posts, the negative and positive. So the 12 volts from here will come. Yeah, well, that's not going to work because I've actually got to have 12 volts. Oh, well, second thought, I'd have to rig something up to get 12 volts to here with that, or actually just disconnect the starter. I guess I would have to just disconnect the starter. That's what I would have to do. I guess you guys are screaming at me. So it wouldn't turn over, but you know what? I'm just gonna bump it and see what happens. So I've got it in neutral for sure. This start button does go all the way down. I really don't need the meter at this point, but it's on there. We'll see it beep when it hits. So the key is in the off position. Negative battery post is already on. And now I guess I should probably take the negative off first. Put the positive on. You're always supposed to put the positive on first, I think. That's what they say. So it doesn't sparky spark. All right. Didn't beep. So as long as it doesn't beep before I hit that start switch. All right, well, let's see what happens. Make sure I got things that are not, I don't think I got anything that would in harm's way. All right, well, here we go. And see what happens. All right, she bumps. So that's a good thing. It rotates. I guess I failed to check the step where I rotate it manually, but oh well. C'est la vie. All right, so we know it moves now. So let me clean my crap up, and then we'll, unless I can think of something else I need to check. But I think the wiring's in a position to where we can actually do some diagnostics on the engine itself to see. I may pull the plugs out and put some oil or something in there. Probably should have done that already, but oh well. All right, let me clean this up. I'll be back at you in a little bit.